fine. Come creeping in my window, Edward. I'm not well. I'm about to sell you to the circus.
Hi, folks. We're in Forks now.
Well, hello there. It's time to start another reading vlog. And this time, I have a plan. And if you've watched my TBR, you know what that plan is. And I guess, well, if you've clicked on this thumbnail, you also know what the plan is, but that's not the point. Today, we're going to be reading Midnight Sun by Stephenie Meyer. And we're going to be taking a little trip to Forks, Washington. Why did I decide to do this? So I have been a Twilight stan since high school at some point, whenever I picked up the first book. I have just never picked up Midnight Sun because I've been, frankly, too nervous that my developed prefrontal cortex will ruin this very pivotal series. So I have been avoiding it like the plague, despite being very intrigued by it. And then we're gonna go check out Forks together. It's a place that I go probably, did I already say this? About once a year. My husband and I love it there because the whole rainforest, the Olympic Mountains are at that way, which are just stunning, gorgeous. Like you hike on a trail for like 5 seconds and you're like, this is the most stunning thing I've ever seen in my life. There's just so much like moss on these trails. It's beautiful. There's tidal pools out along the coast. It's just a very stunning place. We like to go and hike around and just kind of live off the grid for a little bit. I'm gonna take you along while we do that. We'll visit some of my favorite places. Planning to go to Second Beach on the reservation, which is like our favorite out of the 3 there. We'll probably go downtown. The town's not very big. We can show you a couple of the shops that I like to go to for Twilight gear. But let me give you the lore, the backstory on why Twilight was so pivotal. So I've always been an avid reader, even since I was very young. I used to get Barnes & Noble gift cards pretty regularly from family members for Christmas, for birthdays. It didn't really matter. It was almost guaranteed I was going to get a Barnes & Noble gift card. One of the times my mom brought me to the shop so that I could spend it. When I was in high school, Twilight caught my eye. I had heard nothing. I mean, truly nothing. I picked this up purely on a whim. It had this black, white, and red, very high contrast cover, and it was about vampires. And I was like, well, sign me up. Read it, loved it, thought it was the most amazing thing ever, and then subsequently forced all of my friends to read it as well, which led to the destruction of my original Twilight copy because some of my friends are spine crackers, which led to some of the pages falling out. You know what? That's fine. That's fine. I have another copy. I'm an adult. And that really began my love affair with Twilight. Like the idea that Edward was not real just like devastated me on a cellular level. And then after that, I pretty much got every book pretty close to release date because my dad, so sweet, fed my addiction. He used to go to Barnes & Noble after work on release day to pick me up a copy. But yeah, that's kind of the lore behind Twilight. I was not a fan of the movies when they released. I just didn't think anyone was hot enough to play any of the Cullens. And I hated how campy and unserious it really felt. I didn't like how bad the acting was. Now as an adult, I love rewatching that series because it is just it's so bad, it's good. Do remember too when the initial chapters of Midnight Sun got leaked and reading those online and being so excited for Midnight Sun to come out. And then once Stephenie Meyer announced that she wasn't going to be releasing it, I kind of wrote it off. So when it got released in 2020, it kind of caught me by surprise. While I was very excited, after having so much criticism and just a lot of hatred aimed at the series, I was worried that I had heard too much of this to really sit down and enjoy Midnight Sun, but I'm gonna take the risk. And hopefully it pans out. And if it doesn't, I guess you won't have seen this vlog. That's my plan. Today is Veterans Day in the US. It's also Polish Independence Day. Fun fact for you. I am gonna get reading Midnight Sun for a good chunk of today because I do have it off. I did want to warn you before I get going, this will probably be fully spoilery. I'm not really going to hold myself back when I'm talking about this. I'm operating under the assumption that you know enough about Twilight or have already seen the movies. Guys, I have to admit, I'm actually very, very nervous. But I think the reason that I decided to do this instead of a Twilight reread is literally because I was like, well, if I don't like Midnight Sun, then it's not that I don't like Twilight, it's that I just don't like that book. So that was my little delusional thought process. I will be here with my, can you see my Eddie sweatshirt from one of my prior times? I've got my Forks mug. I'm gonna get to reading and I will probably check in with you very soon because I just know me. I'm gonna have a lot of thoughts. All right. Okay, I'm not even that far in, but already I have thoughts and feelings. It's really interesting how much Edward really uses his ability to hear people's thoughts to navigate the world. Even just like him checking in on Jasper, he doesn't like ask him how he's doing. He's just like checking in on his thoughts. And he's like, oh, so he's thinking about eating the gal next to us. Honestly, this speaks to how much Stephenie Meyer really thought through her characters and really knows her characters. Just tell she's put so much thought into who they are, why they're that way, how they would move through the world. And I think that this is just like another example of it. I'm not even that far in and I'm already like, oh wow, this is just sucking me right in because we start right off with the lunchroom scene where she first sees Edward. Like prior to meeting Bella, he really just doesn't have a lot of interest in things. He's like doing high school for like the billionth time. He's with all these happy couples. He's in this like high school where everyone feels very vapid and is very like focused on themselves. And then all of a sudden everyone's like, new girl, new girl, new girl. And he's like, okay, what? And he realizes that he can't hear her thoughts. And he's like, oh my God, I think I might be losing it. And then he's like spying on her through other people that are around her so that he can figure out what's going on with her. Anyway, I'm going to keep reading. Otherwise, this is just going to be me gushing about how much I think Stephenie is actually a really talented writer. Oh, also, one thing I was going to mention too, Stephenie Meyer really loves a theme. And I noticed that the cover of this is pomegranate. So I'm guessing that the theme for this one is going to be Hades and Persephone, because the other thing with Edward is he reads like a serial killer. Like all he is thinking about, it feels like, is just how much he wants to. Oh, and so I'm just not going to finish that thought. Cool, cool, cool. He's thinking a lot about how much he wants to eat her, eat other people, the past where he's been very monstrous. So yeah, that's what I was going to say, but clearly I just got sucked back into the book and spaced out for a second there. Anyways, moving on. I'm going to keep reading. I'm actually really happy that I'm having a good time, guys. I was really nervous. Eddie, I know. Don't do it. I thought that Bella, the night that she's kind of having that nightmare and she thinks she sees Edward in her room, I thought that that was just like something she, hallucinated or dreamt up, not something that actually happened. This man is such a creeper. He's like, well, there's all these ways that she could potentially die and I gotta make sure that she's doing okay. And so then, like a stalker, he crawls in through her window. Sir, I'm starting to understand some of the criticism of Edward. You know what I'm saying? Like the prefrontal cortex is jumping in, but also like the dark romance lover in me is like, it's fine, come creeping in my window, Edward. I'm not well. All right, I'm gonna give you a real update in a second on this whole thing because I have to FaceTime with Nikki in a little bit. Okay, I am now through chapter 5. So I just got to chapter 6. And wow, I didn't realize how many of those iconic scenes are packed into the front end of this book. Now, I don't know if that's just because we're just getting things from Edward's perspective, and so we're getting all of those interactions with Bella kind of up front, or if because it was paced that way. But I'm just like, man, it's just like banger after banger with the scenes. Her noticing him in the cafeteria and having that initial, like, the Cullens don't hang out with anybody. There was the biology scene where he's like, first meets her as like, ew, pew, pew, stinky, stinky girl. I can't even stand to be next to her, trying to get out of that class. And then also we got the ever iconic scene where he ends up saving her from the car, and actually how much trouble that really gets him in with his family and really kicks off the family's awareness of her in a different way. Because prior to this, it was just him being like, there is one gal at the school that smells better than all the rest. And then all of his family members are like, say less, get out of here, do what you gotta do. With this car accident scene where he was like, I gotta save her, he's like justifying it to himself. He's like, well, her blood can't spill, I would go crazy, and that would out us. But then saving her also kind of outs him, because Bella's like, you were across the parking lot, how'd you get over here? And this kicks off everything, because then all of a sudden Alice is like, I have a vision for what this future looks like, and there's a couple different versions, but regardless, she is going to be my bestie, so I need you to like get going with her so that I can be friends. Thank you kindly. And then after the car accident, his family is like, okay, we got to figure out how to deal with this. And Edward's like, well, I should just go. This is going to continue to be a problem. I should just leave. And they're like, no, we need your mind reading abilities so that we know what's going on and nobody's figuring out what's happening with us. So you get the justification for why he ends up staying, despite at this point being very hot and cold and not wanting to commit to being friends, but also like trying to kind of win her over because he is so curious about her, because he's kind of bored otherwise. Like he doesn't have a lot going on in life that's really exciting him or intriguing him. But at the same time, like being in his head, I'm understanding why I'm a dark romance reader, because being in his head is like being in the head of a serial killer. When he first smells Bella's blood is like calculating how he can actually kill everybody in the room, then figure out how he would actually kill all the people that heard, and then how he's gonna explain all these bodies. And like he's playing through all of this while he's sitting next to her in biology. And I was like, yeah, I don't think I'd be the most friendly if mentally that's where my mind was. And then the object of my obsession is then turning to me and is like, what phase is this on the slides? But then also how much of his internal like monologue is him reading people's minds and realizing he's kind of fucked up in his inability to act human. He is constantly thinking about that. He's like, people can sense that I'm a predator. They can sense that something's off. They don't know what it is, but they know something. And so he's like thinking about how calculating he is with his smile. And so it's like sociopathic. That's what it feels like. It feels like you're in the head of a sociopath because he's just thinking of all these ways to just like be human. One other thing that I found really interesting was that I don't really remember Bella being like that nice. And it's not like she was like mean or anything like that, but I just don't remember her like really going out of her way to be kind to people. That's something that Edward is like noticing a lot with her. And it's not like it's like that out of character just because Bella did move away so that her mom could be happy. But I really genuinely remember her being very like self-absorbed, just kind of thinking about herself. And, like as teenagers are, right? She's really depressed. She's unhappy. And so a lot of her perspective was like kind of revolving around that. And she also got a lot of shit for being like kind of generic too. I don't know how much of that is just the people around you can see a lot of the good in you that you don't necessarily clock yourself because you're just being yourself. So I don't know how much of that is just like the perspective of a lover or how much of that is like we're trying to jazz up Bella's personality in hindsight. I don't know. Guys, I have so many thoughts. I don't even think I talked about everything that I really wanted to talk about, but so far I haven't seen anything too indicative of a Hades Persephone theme. So I may be wrong there because usually she goes in hard with her themes. And maybe that's because I've been so distracted by all the fun scenes that I just haven't been picking that up just yet. But anyway, yeah, so I'm only that far in. That's how much I've gabbed about just this little section. It's been so fascinating getting Edward's perspective and how much it actually fits with the initial story and not just feeling like we're trying to like retcon. Is that even the right word? Regardless, hopefully you guys know what I mean. And it's not like we're trying to like figure out how to like piece something together that makes sense in hindsight. It feels like this was written in tandem with Twilight. Guys, I've been gabbing. Look at me go. So I'm actually going to take a break. Nikki and I have been trying to FaceTime for a hot second here. So I'm going to go do that and have a little kiki with her. We'll get back to reading in a little bit. And I'm hoping this part went down pretty fast. So I'm hoping that we can get through a good chunk today. Like I'd love to get through at least half of this book. I'm going to go do that. See you. All right, little bit of a change of plans. So Nikki and I ended up FaceTiming for multiple hours on end. So I did not get to as much reading as I was hoping to, and I am losing daylight, so I need to go for a walk. So I am actually going to grab the audiobook from my library really quick and listen to some of it while I'm on a little bit of a walk. Remember when I said I hope I get 50% in? I'm not even 25% in, so let's see how far I can get on this walk. It was good. We had such a good catch up, so no regrets, but need to get moving on this reading, so I'm gonna go do that. You guys remember when I was like having a meltdown over the fact that he was like creeping into her room? Well, now not only is he creeping in, he brought WD-40 to grease the window to make sure it didn't squeak. I can't with this guy. It's like both like kind of endearing because he like doesn't want to disturb her. He just wants to make sure she's okay. But read from a different lens, it's a little bit creepy. My guy, I need you to calm down. Okay, hi. So I just finished up my walk and I was just going to wash my makeup off for the day because I'm just feeling a little nasty and it's dark outside. And I was like, it's going to be low lighting and I'm just sick of having makeup on my face. I don't need to justify myself to you. I don't know why I'm getting mad. Anyway, so I was able to get about 30% into Midnight Sun and we finally got our Hades and Persephone reference. I knew it was coming. I knew it was coming. But he was like literally talking about the pomegranate and he's like, am I Hades bringing Persephone down into hell? I was like, yay, I'm smart. I knew what the theme was going to be for this one. So we got the Port Angeles scene just now. It's so fascinating because once again, Edward is using his mind reading abilities in order to find her. So like the reason he was even there in the first place, because this was something that always perplexed me so much, is like, why was Edward there? He has developed this intense need to protect her. He's just realized how klutzy she is and how fragile human life is. And he's so worried about protecting her, not only from himself, but from like anything, because he's starting to care for her so much. We're getting some of them, like him watching over her in sleep because he's just concerned about like spiders even coming to bite her and stuff like that. So he had followed her to Port Angeles because he was like worried about other vampires that happen to be in the area. And so he's like, I just need to make sure that they don't harm her. And that's how he ends up stumbling upon her in this kind of precarious situation, because those like men kind of come up on her and like trap her in that alley. And the reason he's even alerted to this is because he can see what that man wants to do to her in his mind. And that's when he's like, oh crap, I gotta get to her, because he realizes that Belle has become separated from her friends. And so it was really fascinating seeing then the subsequent conversation that plays out afterwards, where she is kind of started to put some pieces together. She has started to really figure things out. He starts being just like a little bit more honest and pulling her into his world. And the thing that I think I really love about Edward and Bella's relationship, especially now seeing it through Edward's eyes, like the reason I loved Bella was because she was just kind of depressed. She was just kind of this average girl just trying to make it through high school. And someone that didn't really enjoy high school, I really just identified with that. And then the idea that, fuck, I would just be able to see through kind of everything else that was going on, and maybe that good front that you thought you were putting up. I just found that so romantic. But I think it's really fascinating now seeing it from Edward's perspective and realizing that they are kind of encountering the same thing. Because, right, they're both kind of isolated in their own ways. Bella's this new girl. She's kind of had her world turned upside down. Edward's got all these happy, like, couples around him, and he's kind of been living the same life over and over again. So they're kind of, I just want to, like, survive. I just want to get through, and they're not really, like, enjoying themselves. And they put on an okay front. Like, Bella's trying to hide the fact that she's kind of miserable. And, you know, Edward's trying to hide the fact that he is a vampire. And so they're both so isolated, and they're both kind of seeing beyond the mask. Edward is noticing how much she really is putting up a good front and is really this kind person, and how much she's really kind of like sad underneath it all. And no one else seems to be able to see that because they're so caught up in their own thoughts. And Edward is kind of having the same thing happen with him. Like, Bella is like, okay, what's going on with this guy? Like, there's like this puzzle that she wants to solve with him, and then he's trying to figure out what's going on with her because he can't read her thoughts. It's clear that they're like meant for each other because of how similar their situations are, even though like on its face a human that's like kind of klutzy and average, and this hot vampire, how much on the surface they just don't really have a ton in common. I don't know, I just think that's so fascinating. But anyways, that's all I want to pop on to say. I think I'm going to be done with updates for tonight, and we'll pick up tomorrow and just see how much farther we can get in. I'm really hoping I can finish this before I get to Forks. Anyways, I'm going to get ready for my evening and get cozy and snuggly, and I will circle back with you tomorrow. Ooh, that sounded very corporate. Gross. Disgusting.
All right, good morning. It's morning. What a way to introduce you guys. The daylight savings time change is kicking my ass, says the person that regularly travels to different time zones and has no problem adjusting. I don't know what's going on. So I was actually able to get a fair way into Midnight Sun. Things feel like they've kind of slowed down at this point, kind of between like the 30 and like 55% mark, because a lot of it is in Edward's head and him either thinking about how concerned he is for future outcomes because they're getting visions from Alice, and so he's constantly trying to make
the right choices and the right decisions, is there's multiple different paths that they kind of see her life taking. And so he's trying to make sure that it stays on just a handful of paths that have like positive outcomes. It also explains a lot of like why he's hot and cold and be kind of moody, because even like we got the meadow scene, and during that scene you see like a little thing kind of sets him off, and all of a sudden he's giving into the beast, giving into the hunger, and it freaks him out so much, especially because Bella doesn't seem to be scared at fucking all. This girl does not have any sort of like self-preservation whatsoever. Oh my god. And so I understand his concern, especially seeing it from his perspective. Like seeing it from her perspective, I was like, oh my god, no, it's like totally fine. Seeing it from his, I'm like, yeah, girl almost got ate. That would have been bad. So why isn't she more afraid? I think a lot of this section's being kind of bogged down by those two kind of like thought patterns of like, I love Bella so much, I hope she like I can keep her safe and stay on this path, and then also like, why doesn't she fear me, all of that kind of stuff. How can this possibly work out, just given that I'm this big awful monster and can't give her a human life. I think that there could have been some of that cut down, to be honest. I don't mind it because I'm like, all right, Eddie, go off. But it did make that section feel really slow. A couple of weird things that I wanted to flag. One, we did get more of Edward's backstory of like when he first became a vampire, him trying to adapt and his relationship with Carlisle. But one thing that I thought was really bizarre was that there was some other vampires that they end up meeting up with, and they make a point of talking about how this one vampire has red hair, and I was like, Victoria, obviously. And it's not. Why include that she's got red hair if it doesn't even matter? It's not even fucking Victoria. I don't know. I thought that was really strange, and maybe I misread that scene because at that point, I don't know how locked in I was when I was reading. I was a little bit sleepy at that point. I might go back and read that scene again and just see if I like missed something. I don't know. But one thing that I think is really cute is because, you know, I mentioned that Alice is having all these visions of Bella. She can also see that her and Bella are going to be friends in the future. And so she's like, Edward, hey buddy, I need you to hurry up, because she's so excited about her friendship with Bella and that future that she's seen, that she's like, Edward, I really need you to move this along because I'm going to love her. And let me tell you, the teenager in me that read Bella Alice fan fiction was screaming during that point. Oh my goodness. So that's kind of all the serious stuff. There's one random thing that I had to bring up that I literally, like, I was reading the book and I just like set it down because I was like, what in the actual fuck is happening right now? You guys remember the side characters, Angela and Ben? So it was kind of funny because Edward kind of helps facilitate them getting together, because he's like, well, I like how nice of a friend she is to Bella, so I want to do something nice for her. So he like helps them get together. But the internal thought process for Ben when he was like, well, I think Angela's the coolest, the best. Who cares about our 6-inch height difference? Angela is 6 inches taller than this boy. Why do I not remember this? But it is funny because then in Edward's perspective, he was like, they viewed this height difference as so insurmountable, and it really wasn't. And maybe I'm viewing Bella in the same light. But anyways, so I am now on I'm kind of in the middle. These chapters are long. I kind of forgot how long they are. I think I'm in the middle of chapter 17 right now. So I'm just on the tail end of the meadow scene. I think that I can get like probably a decent, because this is all I've got left here. So I think I can actually get through most of that today, and then we'll have this bad boy read before we head out to Forks, which will be on Friday. Oh my God, my hair looks disgusting. Oh, also, this feels like sacrilege. I'm reading Edward's book, and then I've got a Jacob sweatshirt on in the most diabolical color. In no universe is oatmeal ever going to be flattering on me, but I wear it regardless. I'm going to get to reading more, and hopefully my brain powers on at some point during today. One could hope. All right, see you soon. Wow, this is truly the most devoid of color shot I could possibly give you. Let's take my hair down. Let's give you something. Oh my God, even that looks desaturated. Okay, whatever. You know what? It's gonna be fine. We're not even gonna worry about it. I just got back from a walk and I thought I'd give you a shot that wasn't in my living room, because that seems to be where I live at the moment. But wanted to note a couple of things that I was thinking about as I was on this walk, because I was like, oh my God, these scenes for the last like 40% of the book have just moved so slow. And I got to thinking, Edward really seems to spend a lot of time in his head, but I'm like, is that because of his vampire perception? Because in a lot of this book, he's talking about how like he has to be so careful to move very slowly so that it's meant for human perception. And I was like, so is his brain just like racing because his brain has the capacity to perceive things at a higher rate of speed? These scenes feel really long and drawn out, but he's just flicking through all of this very quickly in like a split second. Because there was one point when he brought Bella over to the house to meet everybody that he spent a good chunk of time in reverie thinking about when he was hunting humans, to the point that I genuinely forgot that we were at the house and that Bella was even there, because he spent so long at just thinking these thoughts. And I'm like, it has to be something about his vampire perceptions. That's my only conclusion. We're hopefully going to get the baseball scene soon. I do not remember the baseball scene being this far in the book. Like, I know it kind of kicked off some of the stuff with the third act, but this feels really late. In my memories of Twilight, I seem to remember the baseball scene being like midway through the book. But then I don't know, because I feel like the timeline and pacing of Midnight Sun is just vastly different than Twilight. Twilight is actually a pretty compact book compared to this. I was honestly a little bit surprised that we hadn't gotten this or her going to see his parents sooner. Anyway, one other thing that I thought was funny and also freakish, Edward at one point was playing the piano and Alice decides to come up and sing next to him, and she is singing two octaves above what he's playing. I'm like, that is Ariana Grande levels. She really said Mariah Carey who? Like, can you imagine the dogs that would be barking? 2 octaves above the melodies, like, that's crazy high. I just thought it was kind of funny, and I wanted to mention it. I still have a few hundred pages to go, and I'm gonna be honest, I'm a little exhausted at this point. Granted, I'm powering through reading this book so I can get it done before Forks, but whoa, baby. So I'm excited that the baseball scene's coming up, because I'm like, I kind of need this to get a little bit more interesting. You know, this middle section just really, really lagged. I'm gonna go. I've been yammering. I will read this baseball scene and then I will get back to you. I probably won't update you until tomorrow, and then we'll kind of like wrap things up with this book and all my final thoughts and feelings. Anyways, see you soon. All right, good morning to everyone except for me. When I tell you I woke up 3 minutes before a meeting that I had to host, that's not an exaggeration. And then on top of that, I completely forgot that after the much beloved baseball scene, we have to do the let's go break Charlie's heart scene to get her to be able to leave and not have him come after her. So, oh, hi, buddy. Can you come over here, please? Nope, nobody needs your butthole on camera. Nobody needs your butthole on camera. Hopefully I can get him to stay over here. Our resident prince is here, collar and all. Yeah, I completely forgot that there was a scene that she has to break Charlie's heart. And I hate that scene. It's my least favorite scene. I'm hoping because it's from Edward's perspective, it's not going to break my heart as much. Reading it in the book, watching it in the movie, knowing that she is hurting. Are you for real? I'm about to sell you to the circus. Anyways, I'll just lean in like this and hope he leaves me alone. But anyway, yes, this is always my least favorite scene. And of course it happens on a day where I'm waking up late and I'm already cranky. I intentionally even left it last night because I was like, oh, I don't want to read this before bed. It'll make me sad. Now I got to read it now. But I've only got 100 pages left, so I'm pretty excited. Did you want to smell the book? Okay, you rub yourself on that book and then I'm going to show the people my sweatshirt. So today for our Forks themed sweatshirt, I didn't do this intentionally. I just have so many. You guys have been there so many times. This is the Rialto beach. It does not make an appearance in the movie. This is a beach that's in the Forks area. It's, I think, one of the more popular ones. There are several beaches on La Push itself on the reservation. Well, there's lots of beaches in the area in general. So Rialto is just like another popular beach in the area. Really just rambling on about this while Kevin pouts and waits for me to scratch him. I'm going to finish this bad boy. I'm gonna push through the pain, and then I'm gonna get to packing tonight for Forks, and then we hit the road tomorrow on Friday, which is so exciting. Oh, I'm so excited. Okay, see you soon. Hello. I have now finished Midnight Sun, and I wanted to give you some final thoughts. Unfortunately, we must suffer through my echoey bathroom because it's the same day as the prior clip. It's still Thursday. I am just kind of like getting ready and packing up. So I needed to be in the bathroom anyway to put together my toiletries, but also it's the only place that has any light because it's so late right now. Work just really got away from me, and so then I was like power reading, and so it's dark. It's pitch dark outside. It's also been raining all all day, so I haven't really had good light at any point. So I don't know if it really would have mattered when I finished the book, but it's evening now, regardless. Also, I recognize that I look diabolical. I'm doing like this hair treatment thing. Can you focus? Focus. Thank you. It's just like a color conditioner that I put on my hair just to kind of refresh it a little bit because the purple is starting to fade a little bit, although I really love it when it's like super desaturated and it's kind of that like greigey purple. That is my favorite, but the color has fled the building on certain chunks of my hair, so that's why my hair looks just beautiful. But anyways, so the last chunk of Midnight Sun, yeah, the Charlie scene where she has to break his heart so that she can leave and like get away from the tracker. I thought it was going to be less heartbreaking because I'm like, okay, well, we're not in Bella's perspective, and so we're not going to be in the room with her and Charlie while it's happening and seeing the heartbreak on his face. But surprise to me, it was almost worse because we end up getting to see Charlie's thoughts. Oh, it pained me because we kind of suspected that he was making the comparison between Bella and when her mom left. And so you kind of assume that that's what's going through his head. Can confirm that is what happened. And it was just really hard. It was fun getting like the action scenes and just seeing what Edward was up to while Bella was getting lured to the ballet studio and all of that. Just because they went on like a wild chase, trying to lure him away and jumping this Jeep and swimming after him and running this way, and Alice is trying to send them like predictions of directions that they need to go, and it was just a lot of chaos. And even getting down to Phoenix and being on the plane and realizing like something went wrong because he's getting to her, just the there's a huge car racing scene of like, who would have thought, because that's one of my favorite things. No, of course Addie would be racing a car on the Phoenix highways in a stolen vehicle, no less. But it was just kind of fascinating too, even just with that scene of how they were coordinating using the mind reading abilities, using Alice's ability to see the future. So they're trying to make all of these quick decisions of like, do we speed in this area? Do we try and weave through traffic over here? If we make this turn, how does that change the future? It was just really interesting, you know, because at one point he loses the mirrors and he's like, all right, everyone stick your heads out the window because I'm just going to use your minds to read what's going on with traffic. Which I just thought, like, that's actually kind of fucking cool. What were my last two thoughts? Great question. It's too late in the day for this. Oh, I did like the little nod that we get to Jacob having to go through the change because it's nothing like too overt, but whenever Jacob is around, he makes a note about how Bella or Edward or something stinks. And so you're getting that little subtle nod to the fact that he's starting to change into a werewolf even at that point, but nobody's really recognizing the signs just yet. And even Edward doesn't know what's going on. He's just kind of like, oh, weird. Someone else must have like weird perfume on near Bella or something like that. She smells great. I mean, obviously he literally wants to eat her. Oh, and Victoria, so funny. She is painted as very timid in this book. I can't tell if I'm just sort of like misremembering because of the movies or I'm conflating it with like her later on in the series. But I'm like, wasn't she a bit more of a stronger character because she's like coming after them for vengeance for her mate or whatever? Yeah, in this book, she was like really painted as like timid and deferring and just wasn't very confident. Was just going to follow whatever her partner did. I was like, huh, that is interesting. And then final thing to wrap things up, as I've been yammering on and my back is hurting from squatting. Oh, she's getting old. Was that I feel like this book kind of leaves off on a bummer note. Obviously, we know it's coming in New Moon, and he's preparing to leave, and you can see him kind of like distancing himself and trying to give Bella like some good memories. And he was like imagining her talk about, you know, her high school years, and he's like, well, I want her to have good memories, so when she's talking with her kids, with whoever her partner ends up being, she has some good memories to talk about, and that it's not this like big blank void of all these social engagements that she was avoiding just to date him. And I was just like, oh, it's just so sad. And him subtly deceiving her, knowing that he wants to leave or that he feels it's best if he leaves, even though Bella's really looking for that reassurance that they're going to continue to be together, that he's going to be there forever, that at some point he's going to change her. It was just kind of like, to leave off on that note, it was just like, oh man, that was a big old bummer. Yeah, overall, I think the first chunk of the book was just a lot more exciting. I think the middle really, really did get bogged down with Edward kind of thinking his thoughts. And I wish that had been tightened up a little bit. But I don't know how much of that is like just trying to give the book a little bit more meat, because you realize they really haven't spent that much time together. I feel like that flew over my head when I was in high school. I don't know how much of that was him kind of like distancing himself just a little bit. As much as he like loves her, he's always kind of got that I might eat her though in the back of his head. And I don't know how much of that kind of like changed the feeling of some of those scenes, because they're all tainted with that threat of like him maybe gonna like a little, like just a little munch. But I gotta hop in the shower, get this mask rinsed out. I am gonna pack tonight. I'm not gonna show you that. You guys don't care about that. And then we will hit the road sometime tomorrow. I have no idea what vlogging is gonna be like. I don't think I'm gonna be good at it, but I'm gonna give it a shot. So we'll see. We'll see. Wish me luck. Hi, friends. So it's now Friday, and you know what that means. We're headed to Forks today. I don't know what that dance was, and we are going to ignore it and pretend it didn't happen. I am running on caffeine and a singular brain cell. As you can tell, we are testing out a little bitty new mic, so hopefully the audio quality is good. I had to get a new mic because the mic that I normally record with around my house, where I normally am, is a huge podcasting mic, and it's just not meant for the outdoors. It's not meant for off-roading, so we had to get a new little friend. And I don't even know how to secure it to my clothing yet, so we have to hold it like an idiot. Well, I guess actually this is kind of trendy to do this, but I feel like that's more trendy with people that actually have the voices for like ASMR. And let's be so for real, I do not have such a voice. I am just packing. I don't know why I'm showing you my backpack. You know backpacks. I'm just finishing up backpacking. I'm finishing up packing for this trip. I was just going to give you a quick update on the plans because they changed a little bit, which stinks because we're getting a little bit of a later start than I was hoping, which means that I don't think I'm going to be able to show you guys that much of the drive out there. I was really looking forward to that. I had in my mind, like, I was like, oh, I'm going to show them the ferry. And then there's like this lake that's really beautiful that's on the way out. I'm like, oh, I'm going to show them that, because that's usually the point in the drive where I'm a little stir crazy and start quoting Twilight constantly at my husband. But I think it's going to be dark. We are late in the year and it's daylight savings time, or we're out of daylight savings time. I actually don't know how that works, and we're going to move on. We went through the time change recently, and now it gets dark really, really early. It sucks, but I don't think I'm going to be able to show you guys much of anything of the trek out there. So we'll probably pick up with each other on Saturday, and that'll be our main day in Forks. Sunday, we'll probably do a little bit, but not as much because we do have to make the drive back. So it's just a quick little trip. I don't even know how much we're honestly going to be able to get to with the limited time, but we're definitely going to get some hiking in and hopefully go to La Push and our favorite brewery, the only brewery there, and then hopefully some shops, but we'll see how much we can get to. I honestly don't know how much is realistic just given the amount of time that we have. The other thing I want to pop on and talk to you about is something I just don't even know how to segue into. And I really hope this doesn't come off as me like bragging or anything like that. It's really not meant to be that way. It's just such a surreal experience for me, and I have you guys to thank for it. So I feel like I need to bring it up and tell you about it because it's like, this is freaking cool. I got an email that I thought was probably a scam. And honestly, up until the book was in my hands, I was convinced I fell for a scam. You guys, Bramble reached out to me. Bramble, the romance publisher, and they sent me Blackthorn by J.D. Geisinger. How crazy cool is this? I'll show you the sprayed edges if I can get it to focus. So actually, these are digitally printed. So these will actually hold up a lot better. They're not the ones that you like sneeze on and then they like fall apart. But like, how cool is this? They were like, hey girl, you want a finished copy? I was like, yes, ma'am, I absolutely would love that. I'm on a JT Geisinger binge right now. Like, how cool to get a copy of her new book in the middle of a JT binge. And I know I like this book already, in case I didn't say that. Because I got the arc, and so I read this already earlier this month. And then they're like, here's a finished copy, girlfriend. What is life? They even sent me this, like, huge thing. I'm trying not to dox the person that sent this to me. That's why it's folded stupid. But like, this is so cool. And I have you guys to thank. Like, it's so surreal because like these videos, I'm like, oh, I'm just talking with me and my friends. And the fact that anyone else is paying attention kind of boggles my mind. And the reason that they're even paying attention is because you guys are paying attention. And I'm just like, oh, what a weird world. What a weird world where I'm getting PR. Like, guys, I can't get over this. This is so cool. But anyways, I hope that didn't come off braggy. I'm really just like in awe that it even happened. And so I wanted to share it with you all because it wasn't a scam. I'm going to finish packing and then I will catch up with you guys probably Saturday. But, if there's some lovely B-roll of our travel, enjoy. All right, exciting news, guys. I was able to get just a little bit of B-roll for you on our journey out there. So I got a clip here of us actually driving onto the ferry. So it was pretty exciting because we were the first ones on. So we end up getting a very, very front row seat. Our car was at a crazy angle. I don't think this really captures that. But I was also able to get just a little baby clip of the inside of the ferry. I'll show more of the ferry on the way home because I was a little bit more awake at that point. But we end up driving off onto the Olympic Peninsula, and I was able to get one more clip coming up here of the actual drive itself. It's so beautiful and foggy, and then it got dark. And then I found a funny street sign, and I feel like I should live on this road because I was a hooker in rugby. Get your mind out of the gutter.
Folks, we're in Forks now. Actually, we're probably closer to La Push than we are to Forks at the moment. So we're just outside of the Forks city limits, if you can call them that. My husband and I like to rough it a little bit, so we're in an off-grid cabin at the moment. I know that that looks like it's a light, but that is battery operated. But we woke up this morning to these beautiful views. Look at that. I mean, it's gorgeous. So our original plan at one point was to hike because we like to go to the rainforest, but it is just as stunning around this cabin. So we're having a little bit more of a leisurely morning.
Okay, so I'm just going to briefly show you some clips around the cabin so you can see how beautiful it is. I'm not going to voice over that section so that you guys can hear the rain, and then we'll jump back into what the actual plans are for the day.
And I think my husband's going to take some photos of the trees and nature around here. And then we're going to be heading to Second Beach next. Second Beach is on the actual reservation itself. For the Quileute tribe, there's numerous American Indian tribes that are in this area, but the Quileute tribe is the one that is talked about in the actual Twilight books. So we are going to actually head to the reservation. All right, hi. So I kind of got cut off earlier, which is totally fine. I'm in my car now. Hopefully my jacket isn't making too many noises. My husband's just finishing up getting his last few shots around the cabin, and then we're going to head to Second Beach. So there's actually 3 beaches that are on the reservation. The one that they're referring to as La Push in the books and the movies is First Beach. It is a really nice beach. If you have a chance to go, absolutely go. It does tend to attract a little bit more of a crowd, and my husband and I just tend to prefer Second Beach. It's gorgeous. So I am actually new boot goofing. So I'm breaking in some new gear, which is also probably a good reason that we're not doing a very long hike. But in order to get to Second Beach, there is about like a mile hike that you have to do and also some stairs. I'll get some shots of that along the way and then also get some shots on the beach. Second Beach is my absolute favorite place in the Forks area, hands down. So I'm really excited to show you guys. I hope that the rain and fog kind of holds out so that I can get some good shots for you guys. We are packing a lunch, so we're going to be eating there. We've got a couple chairs that we're going to be bringing with us. We are seasoned professionals when it comes to going to Second Beach, so I'm really excited. But I will see you when we get there.
All right, so I just got a couple clips of the drive out, and one of the things that I really wanted to show you guys was this sign that leads up to La Push. A popular place to get photos nowadays, but it's just on a campground, which I always think is a little bit entertaining. But the drive out is just as beautiful and can kind of give you a little bit of a taste of what the drive on the Olympic Peninsula in general looks like. And this is the parking lot. We were one of 2 other groups that were hiking down that day to Second Beach. So let's get going with this darn hike, shall we? So this is just a mushroom that I thought was very cute. And you can see in the shot just how foggy it was that day. And then I got a couple clips of some of the more unique foliage in the area, like this root system and this tree with balls. I just thought that was hilarious. And then we started the descent down to the beach itself. I'm going to let you listen to the waves. All right, hi. So we are now on Second Beach. We are right now just enjoying some lunch, some beer, some sandwiches. We were able to get hopefully enough B-roll. I don't know if I'm doing this place justice. I'm going to be honest. We were even able to get a shot of what we think is probably a sea otter, which was a brand new experience for us. So that was really cool. But these sea stacks behind me are always what I imagine Bella was cliff diving off of in New Moon. I don't know how I think her clumsy little ass would get up that sea stack, but in my mind, that feels right. One thing I wanted to mention, since we are on the Quileute Reservation, is that they are right now, or have been, trying to move a lot of their buildings up further, and I'll try and get some shots when we leave of the reservation itself and where they're trying to move a lot of their buildings, because they're in a flood zone currently. So one thing I like to do, since the Quileutes didn't really benefit in any way from Twilight being produced, I do like to donate anytime I come here or interact with Twilight property in any way, is just make a little donation so that they are also benefiting from my fandom. But I just wanted to mention that. I'll leave a link in the description so that you guys can donate if you would like to as well. But I thought I would mention that because we are a little bit more focused on the Twilight franchise. But the fog is rolling in, so I'm going to go eat my sandwich and just enjoy the beach. I think we'll probably head into town once we're done here, but I'm gonna go back to enjoying the view. So after lunch, the fog lifted and the tide was out, so I had to capture some of the tidal pools here. They are just absolutely stunning. They are teeming with life. I also found, unfortunately, a dead starfish. RIP. Apparently Seagull also found it. That's what those little prints are. We can see the man himself in the distance. But we're going to have to say goodbye in a second, so I'm going to let you once again enjoy the sounds of the waves once more. All right, and then we were headed into town. You can kind of see me filming in the mirror there. This is just a little glimpse of the Quileute tribe reservation here. This is up in the upper portion where they're trying to move a lot of their buildings. They actually have a new high school that I got a little bit of film of that you can see off to the side here. So although Jacob might not have gone to school in this exact building, this would have been where he would have gone if it was a more modern tale. But you can kind of see it just off in the distance right there. So then we headed into town, and you can see the bridge here that they kind of feature a similar bridge in the movie itself. And as you come across the bridge, right to that right-hand side, you're going to see the Welcome to Forks sign. There is an identical one that's actually on the opposite end of town that has a lot fewer people at it. I actually recommend going to that one because it also has like a truck that kind of looks like Bella's, and there's a timber museum. It's just a little bit less crowded, so if you happen to go to Forks, go to that one. This is downtown Forks. I apologize, there are windshield wipers going the entire time because it was wet and rainy, as the books and movies do suggest. That part is not a lie, but this is what the downtown looks like. It's a couple blocks on either side with a few more businesses, but for the most part, it's a pretty unpretentious place. You can kind of see some of the stores that we're about to go to in a minute here. My favorite of all of these is native to Twilight, so that'll be actually the first shop that we end up going into. But this is downtown. It's nothing too crazy. And right over here is actually a theater. I'll get a more close-up clip later. Oh, and we get a little side profile from Mr. Book Baron. But this building that's got the line out in front of it is actually a free tour that you can do. And they've got like all these different props from all 5 of the movies there. Yeah, this is downtown Forks. Not a ton to write home about. It's one of those places that sort of has one of everything and nothing more than that. We didn't go all the way through town. We ended up kind of stopping short so that we could loop back and give you a little bit of footage of the high school that you can kind of see right in the background there. We'll get a close-up shot in a second here. So this is where Bella and Edward would have gone to high school had they actually gone to school in Forks. So you can see we've got the high school here. There's a couple smaller buildings like right next to it that are on the same campus that are the middle school and elementary. There's even like a few pod-like structures that they use. But yeah, that's the actual high school, not that pretty brick one. So first up on our shopping trip, we went to Native to Twilight. They have some photo opportunities, some action figures, some props from the movies, cardboard cutouts, But the concept for this store is that they have Twilight merch, and you can see a couple shots of that there. It was really busy, so I had to be really stealthy with some of my recording, but I tried to show you some of the outfits that I have purchased previously. But on the other side of the store, they actually feature clothing and home goods and just a variety of different things that feature art from Native artists. So they have these really cool t-shirts and sweatshirts. There's also quite a bit of jewelry and just more traditional beading and other kind of like crafts and arts from Native artists. And it's worth noting that they ship within the US if you see anything you like. All right, so then we walked down the block to, I believe this place is just called Sasquatch. And believe it or not, this place is split between Sasquatch gear and Twilight stuff. And I think the thing that I love about this store is it just leans into the absurd. It's really big into Bigfoot research. When it comes to the Twilight gear, I just think that they have some of the funniest stuff. I don't like this shop as much for the actual like clothing merchandise like the other two shops I usually go to, but this is great for like stickers, shot glasses, drinkware. I couldn't help myself. I did buy myself a few stickers, but I did have some willpower. It was not strong, but I had a bit of it. And with these next two items, oh boy, did I have to hold myself back because I'm sorry, a Renesmee prayer candle and this bumper sticker? Stop it. And then the final stop that was on our little shopping trip here is Fog and Fern. It was just across the street. Here is a few of the stickers that they have. They have a few of the tchotchke items, and I'll show you more of those later. But they have a ton of clothing that is both like Olympic National Forest, Forks, and also very Twilight-centered stuff. You can actually custom print quite a bit of the prints that you see here. So if you see like this print, for example, but you wanted it on a black t-shirt, that's something that they can do in the back. This is yet another shop that does ship within the US. So if you see things that you like, this is definitely a place that you can order from. But they also do have a fair amount of just like fashionable clothing items. I don't know how to explain it. They have a lot from like Wrangler and brands like that as well in other spots in the store. But I don't go to those spots because I'm here for the vampire stuff. They also have these candles, which smell so good. I have one from a prior trip that smells like the Cullen House. But you can see they have some fun like hair clips. And there's even like a replica ring of Bella's wedding ring. So no shortage of fun at this store either. And then we headed over to get some beer after this. But on the way, I got a closer up shot of that tour area where there was a few less people, so you can see that this is something that they do actually year round. And then we headed to West End Tap Room because we wanted some beer, and then we played this funky little game that they have on all the tables called Tricky Triangle, and we made it a little bit of a competition. I won, by the way. And then we headed back to the cabin. All right, hi friends. Mr. Book Baron is trying to start a fire for us. We just got back from dinner and we are now hunkering down for the night. So I thought I would show you what I got. The lighting in here is not the best because all the lights that you're seeing are actually battery powered. So they tend to be a little bit dimmer than your normal electric lights. But I wanted to show you what I got just really quickly. I didn't go as crazy as I normally do because I've purchased from all of the shops that I showed you. Those are my 3 favorites for Twilight gear. But I did have a few items that I wanted to show you. So I got this just kind of like basic, it's green. I don't know if that's picking up on camera. It's really hard to see with this lighting, but just like a basic green denim Twilight hat because I thought that was fun. It also has like Forks, Washington on the side there. Oh, you know what? I figured out how to clip these. I should do that. All right. Hopefully this stays in place and doesn't sound too ruffly. And then I got this kind of like vintage style Twilight shirt. I just thought this was too fun to pass up. So I got that bad boy. And then I got this like comic book style one that I just thought was so cool. So I had actually been eyeing this one up for a minute. I had seen it online because I follow Fog and Fern on Instagram. And I was like, absolutely, I need this immediately. And I was like so disappointed because there was like the Forever Twilight 20th anniversary meetup or something like that just happened in September. And so I was like, oh, dang it, I think they snagged all the good gear. But I was able to get this one. And so I was like really excited because this was like the one thing that I was like, I absolutely must have. And then I did just get a few stickers for the back of my Kindle. So I've just got the Twilight, hands holding the apple there. I have a little sticker that just says Twilight. And then I got the ever cursed Renesmee Chuck Esme. This thing is diabolical. I really wanted to get the like saint candle that they had of Renesmee, but my husband rightfully pointed out, where is that gonna go in the house? And I was like, you know what, fair point. I just think it's very hilarious to own, but that's what I purchased this time. Every single one of those shops has way too much of my money. I have at least 5 different Forks sweatshirts alone. That's embarrassing that now that I've said that out loud, but nonetheless, it is true. But I just wanted to show you my little haul before I kind of like wrap up for the evening. So we're gonna have a little fire. I'll see if I can get like a few clips of the fire. Fire never looks as cool on camera as it does in person, but regardless, I'll try. And then we'll pick up tomorrow morning. All right, sleep well, everyone. All right, it is now the next morning. This was Sunday morning after we had packed up. We knew we had a long drive ahead of us, so I thought I'd just get a quick clip to say goodbye to the cabin before we hit the road, because I had realized that I had not done that, because when we got there, it was full dark. But oh, what a beauty. It was so sad to leave. And here we are back on the road, back past one of the many, many bridges that you have to go through. And it was once again very foggy and wet, so a lot of these clips are going to have windshield wipers in it. I'm so sorry, but it is beautiful. I think my husband and I at this point were asking, where's Eddie? Are you there, Eddie? At this point in the drive. It's much too early for us to be that delusional, and yet we were. But I was, this time around, able to capture some of the drive along Lake Crescent. It is such a beautiful part of the drive. The road is just constantly winding around the shore like this. It was super foggy, so you can't even see the other side of it, which was wild, but it is just absolutely stunning. So then we got to Port Angeles, which is what you're seeing here. We're actually looking out towards the water, and we decided we wanted to get a little bit of breakfast. Port Angeles is a pretty sleepy, historic town. You can catch a ferry from here to get over to Victoria, Canada. But it's a pretty typical port town with a lot of mom and pop places and a lot of warbox homes. I did manage to capture, outside of this more historic building, some deer that just happened to be munching on the lawn, which I thought was kind of cool. And this is just another shot of Port Angeles kind of looking back towards the Olympics. And then I took a little break before we hopped on the ferry to go home. So I got a little bit more of us actually driving on the ferry this time around. So we got on this bad boy and we parked the car, and we did eventually go upstairs. So I'll show you a little bit of what the actual interior of the ferry looks like in just a second here once we shove off. So we went upstairs to say farewell to the Olympic Peninsula. Oh, it is so beautiful and one of my favorite spots. But here's just a little bit of what the interior of a ferry looks like in Washington State. There's a lot of chairs and tables. You can actually get snacks and beer. There's Mr. Book Baron hanging out. He was sick of driving. We passed another ferry along the way, and we just got a little bit of fresh air out on part of the deck here. And although these ferries have an incredible capacity, they can take so many cars, the lady that we bought the ticket from at the booth told us we got one of the last 3 spots on this ferry. So timing couldn't have been better. Last shot from the trip, for some reason, is this cargo ship. I just thought it was cool. It was the greeting I got from Kevin when I got home. And what else do you have to say? Yeah. Did you miss me? And I'm back, and we're back in the living room where it all started and where I definitely belong. So I hope that was fun. I hope that was interesting for you to come along to Forks with me. I know I didn't do like the most Twilight-y stuff. Like there was definitely other things that we could have done to lean into the fandom, but I just wanted to give you like a little taste of like what I like to do when I go to Forks. And if you have any questions about the Forks area, feel free to leave it in the comments below. I hope the B-roll is okay. I realized about midway through that trip, I'm not that good at taking B-roll. I'm sure my very talented filmmaker sister-in-law is watching this and just screaming. She's probably just pulling her hair out. But I know I didn't take the most aesthetic shots. I really tried my best. It's definitely a skill that I'm just not good at yet. Hopefully the voiceover explanations of what we were doing made it a little bit more interesting than just doing a montage with some music. I just found that I wanted to explain what you guys were looking at, and I know some of you guys also just listen and don't necessarily look at your screen with my videos. I wanted to make sure that you also felt included. To admit that reading Midnight Sun really made me nostalgic for the old days again. It really made me miss being 15 watching and reading the Twilight series over and over again. And I was editing the footage back of like how I got into Twilight, but I don't think I fully expressed like how obsessed I was with this series. These books were the only books that I ever reread up until probably about my mid-20s, I want to say. They went on international trips with me. I packed all 4 books with me to go to like Italy. And so I have all of these associations, I think, with rereading the series. It made me think of my old bedroom when I was a child. It made me think of a villa in Italy. It reminded me of those times where I was just pining after Edward so hard and just mourning the fact that he was not real. I feel like this reread has just kind of like thrown me back to that time because these books just hit in a way that I don't think many books have really hit since. Although I'm always looking. I'm always on the hunt for one. I would love to hear from you. Were you guys fans of Twilight? Were you not? Were you kind of like outside that age demographic? Did you decide to read Midnight Sun? Yes or no? If you did, what did you think of it? And like I said, if you have any questions about Forks, feel free to leave them in the comments below. I will answer to the best of my abilities. I have lots of random facts about Forks stored away in my noggin. Like I know where the oldest building is for some reason, and also the year that it actually all burnt down. So in case you were wondering. If you made it to the end of this, what I can only assume is going to be feature film length, but don't have anything to say, feel free to leave your favorite emoji so I can say thanks for making it this far in, because this is my longest vlog to date. Oh my goodness. I had so much footage and I really did try and cut it down, but I just wanted to show you guys all the things. But make sure you leave that emoji down in the comments just to let me know that you made it to the end so I can say thank you. And also I'd love to hear from you if you guys liked this format, if you want to do more off-roading, go on trips with me, get out of the house a little bit more. I'm happy to take you guys along on other adventures, or if you just like it more when I stick to the books and just gab and gab about those, I would love to hear anything that you guys have to say. Let me know your thoughts and opinions, but with all of that, thank you so much for being here. I cannot believe you guys made it to the end. That's actually crazy to me. There's so much footage. Don't forget to like this video if you did end up liking it, and don't forget to subscribe if this is your first time here, or if you've watched a few videos and haven't taken the opportunity, hit that subscribe button. I would love to have you back for more videos, and I really, really, really do hope I see you in my next video. Bye-bye. Damn it, the clacky ring again.